Looks like we're live.
Hello. If there's anyone hear us, if there's anyone there.
They're not going to speak back.
No.
It's a computer.
So it's weird when these things happen. You never know really what the response is.
Or everyone's watching.
I think it's my grand television debut as well, so it's quite an exciting moment.
Oh, me too.
So if there is anyone there, hello. We're here at the running shop on George Street. This is the first of our Northeast running video casts, video blogs, video podcasts. What would you call them?
Vlog.
Vlog.
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live. Yeah. So the plan being just to have a monthly session with some friends and guests to talk about all things running in the Northeast. Just to run through various topics and subjects, give you an update on what's happening running-wise in the Northeast. Basically, share experiences, share stories, hopefully kind of bring the running community together, because it's such a vibrant running community we've got here, and it's growing all the time at all levels. It's pretty good to be part of it. So this is all just one little part of it, hopefully. So we'll see how it goes.
I'm just looking at the side of the screen. It's
Yeah,
all the
me
people
too.
that are joining.
Exciting.
There's Lorenzo giving us a wave. David giving us a thumbs up.
Yeah.
Yay, thanks guys.
So who we've got here? So we've got James Cruickshank here, physio.
Oh, yeah.
From down Spear. David Scott, who is ultra runner, Fit Like Jogger, and
What other categories?
I know, so many. Kayleigh at the back there, ex-running shop employee, Scottish international as well.
It's in my heart. It's in my heart.
And we've got Don at the back here, monitoring the Facebook page, seeing for any questions.
Hopefully.
So the thing is, it's supposed to be interactive. So if you got any questions or any points or anything at all, just feel free to put them in the comment section, and Don will let us know, and we can answer as well as we can.
I know, I was like, can you
I know, well, I think it's Carol saying, don't look too nervous. I don't know who she's
Probably me.
Trying to look so nervous.
Lots of people waving and saying hello. Hi
Yeah.
guys.
There's a few folk there.
Actually, yeah, I think we've got quite a crowd.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
this might
so.
be your biggest audience yet.
Yeah. So first of all, I thought I would just quickly have a run through what's happening race-wise. There's a lot coming up in June. So there's a few shout-outs for a few races coming up. They've got a few places left. So if anyone, like next week, there's the Metro 10K. So we've got 3 Metro guys here. So I think we're saying there's still a few places left there for the 10K down at the beach next Tuesday night.
Fantastic course as well, nice and flat.
Flat,
so
PB.
definitely
Yeah, a lot of people
territory.
doing
Yeah.
PB on that. So,
Yeah, if they went to, I think it's Entry Centre all the time.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
So,
So,
nice
yeah.
course as well.
good value race as well. No t-shirts, no medals,
Just fast times.
enjoy. Yeah.
And good banter.
And
It's
good
always banter.
Yeah. So, and there's also, I noticed Carol put a post on about the Fraserburgh 10K. I think there's only a few places left for that.
High teens left, 18.
Yeah, that's what I saw this afternoon, so it's probably less now. So that is definitely one I'd recommend as well.
Good feeds as well.
Just an amazing feed at the end, legendary. So yeah, I would definitely sign up for that. And that is my PB course.
Yeah.
Not that one ever on.
Same for me. Yeah, same for me.
Yeah.
For my 10K.
So,
Yeah.
And what else have we got? I think there is the Dunedere Hill race. That must be, that's a weekend Sunday, isn't it?
Sunday the 10th, yes.
10th.
Sunday the 10th, yeah. So that's a great little hill race. Peterhead's coming up, so that's the half marathon on 17th of June, and I think the entries close on the 10th of June there. So again, they do a pretty good feed as well.
So it's quite a good competition team. Fraser around Peterhead.
Yeah.
The best feed and
Sausage rolls are amazing.
About 5 or 6 different types of soup at least.
I know. I think
It's all good.
honestly, these local races are. I love them. I think they're such a good atmosphere, and generally you get a good feed. I think
Yeah.
I think that's
That's
why
why
most
we
people
run.
sign up.
Yeah, I think there's another new one, the Red Run, that's out up near Kimney, I think, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I never got the date. The entries close on the 3rd of June, so it can't be too far off either. So, and I think they were just about
17th maybe?
possibly,
weekend.
yeah. So I
I
think
can just interrupt you there and say the prize for the first question goes to Pamela Harrison.
Oh.
So it's any places left on the Brewdog Run.
Ooh.
The Brewdog Run.
So-
That's coming up on the 9th of
Yeah.
June. Yeah, so that's actually, we're limited this year. It's been growing and growing. This is a run that had gone from Brewdog at the Castlegate in Aberdeen, up the old railway line, past Dice, and finishing at the Brewdog Brewery in Ellen. And a few of the guys here have done it before.
and three.
Great day out. Not a race at all, just a run. Ends up at the bar and a bit of fun. So that had grown to about 130 people at the last one. We've had to cut back the numbers this time down to about 50. So to answer Pamela's question, there are no places left. We've even got a wait list of people enthusiastic to come. But what it means is that we'll have to do another one quite soon, and hopefully we'll be able to increase our numbers beyond that. But what it's also meant is that this is going to be better than ever. So the people that are coming along are going to have a great day out. So.
Heard it here first, the better than ever.
Yeah.
But that's so good. It was such a great experience. You know, it was such a social run, meeting people.
One of these things that
Yeah.
people said that it was very different to race environment because you weren't up against the clock at all.
Yeah.
People were waiting for each other. People were far more happy to chat, and people who'd done a lot of races in their lives said it was the best day out that they've had. So
No,
really
absolutely.
good.
Yeah, no good. The other one we've got, so race-wise, still in June, we've got Ladder Grew, which James is doing this year.
Yeah, it's
The first time?
First ever ultra. So if there's any advice on anybody out there who's got any advice from a first one, definitely. These guys are more inexperienced, so I'll give you the first question. What bit of kit would you recommend? I know you mentioned the socks straight away, but what other bits of kit would you?
Going over that sort of distance, you've got to be careful what you're eating. So you need to have something that's going to carry your gear. So a comfortable backpack and get used to running in it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's a backpack or you get a little running bum bag, but I don't know what they have at the Larry Crew race, whether they have water stations or if you're expected to carry a lot yourself.
It's self-sufficient. There's
Yeah.
one water station where the little house is, but it's pretty early on, so it's pretty self-sufficient. So you need to carry your food. So.
And not just put your backpack on for the first time on the day.
Get
used to running in it a few times beforehand, getting used to drinking from your water, whether you have your bottles in the front, whether you have a camel pack type thing with a bladder in the back.
Person.
Yeah.
It's, I guess one size doesn't fit all as well, so you can have to figure out what works best for you.
And I think that's the biggest difference between just going and running a race that you might be on mixed terrain, where your choice of shoes is important, whether you're carrying a jacket is important, your nutrition and all the rest. But actually, the difference that you'll find is probably running a pack.
Okay. Oh, thank you very much.
And David Gilmore says that, see you there, James, 27 miles
Perfect.
is not an
Good.
ultra.
We had that
Nice.
So,
Tell me, Dave, is that more than a marathon? So I think that makes it.
So what does make an ultra then? Is it,
What's the distance got to be? I don't know.
Well, really, an ultra is anything more than marathon
26.2,
distance.
yeah.
That's nice.
So
David Gilmore can get Gilmore.
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 Yeah.
If you can answer the own question, what distance is an ultra, and it might do a 3 or 4 mile warm up.
Yeah.
Just try to make the distance.
What's
If
gonna
I'm doing it,
count?
I'm doing it once. So we'll see how that gets to.
it does appear on the list of ultramarathons. So I think from Dave's
I'll claim that.
So it's just started a back and forth on the messaging there, so that's good. Good discussion.
So the final roundup of the races. So we've got some hill races, excuse me, coming up as well. So next Tuesday, same night as the Metro one, there is the Crunts again, which first Tuesday of the month through the summer. It's up at Kirkhill at the Tire Bagger side. So £1 entry. Great wee race, 4 miles. So it's on Tuesday night. And also the Cosmics have got the Hill of Fair race on the 21st of June, which again, 4 miles, not too long, but short and sharp. But a great way to get an introduction onto the hill running scene. So definitely, again, recommend those.
I think that's where kind of got the bug for the trail run, was the Crunts doing that, and it's on the doorstep as well, so it's really, really good. And I think it was a 3k loop, and you do it twice.
Yeah, it's about
Upward, top of
Yeah.
Elric. Yeah, no, it's lovely route, and it's very, very nice.
Yeah, no, it's good fun. Again, all standards. It's not
Yeah.
It's just open to everyone's friendly event. It's all good fun. So
Yeah.
The Hill of Fair race must be a good run as well. I haven't done the actual hill run.
the Hill of
but,
Fair, the hill race is so it's from the Echt side.
Okay.
So you go into Echt and turn left, just about a mile or so, mile and a half up. That's where it starts. It's a kind of 3 mile gradual climb, and then a really fun 1 mile downhill, which is just awesome. So
a lot of people will remember the Hill of Fair half marathon, 10k, and
Yeah.
5k series that they had a couple of years ago that they ran 2 years in succession. That got a lot of people introduced to trail running and hill trail running as well. That was a good little event, but took a lot of organising.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think personally, I think there's probably more room for more trail races as such. But it's my personal thing. I don't know if there's room for get some more actual trail running, not not specifically hill races. And I think it's just a good way to get people out into the countryside and enjoying the nothing overly too technical, but
I mean, there are more and more runners out there, so they're
I know.
looking for more events and races to go to of different sorts. And I think there is a big demand for variety, so not just the 5Ks and the 10Ks on pavement.
So anyway,
It's nice to see new ones coming on.
Yeah. So finally on the races, we're just going to give a shout out to Alan from the Cosmics, who's just finished up on the Monarch Way. Which is the longest race in the UK, 600 odd miles, Nick David.
It is about nearly 620 miles and non-stop race all around the south of England. Well, it heads up to the north of England and then drops back down to Devon area, and it's finishing up in Brighton. So Alan did a good stint again this year. I think this is he's gone back to try again after a cracking attempt at it last year. I must say that it had never been completed, so nobody had ever finished it. So of all of the starts, it's the only race to have had a 0% success rate until right this minute. And we're just checking the updates. You got my phone there? Let's just see. There was a guy, Oriole, who is a guy who's been running on it for the last 12 and a half days. And if this tells me right, he has just reached the finish at the power station at the end of the pier in Brighton, and that is 619 miles. I'd say non-stop. He will have stopped for a few little sleeps and things, but that's something else. So the race that had never been completed has now been completed. That's quite something. Well done, Oriole.
Yeah, so on the list then, David, for you, I can see you
Yeah, wow. Oh, now it's been done. It's not
You do it in reverse.
Yeah.
Do a double monarch.
Yeah, so so that's the kind of race roundup, what's happening. I said feel free, and I say it on the running shop page as well, just if you've got any races you want publicised, please cite them through. I've got the race diary on the website, and it's all just about sharing the information and getting more people out into the races and support the local scene. So feel free to give anything a shout out. So the first thing we're going to talk about tonight is with James on his project 345 that he just completed, completed at the Stirling Marathon. So I was just going to, hand it over to James a wee bit and just ask him, what that was all about.
So project 345 was my own personal project to complete a marathon in 3 hours 45. I got married last year in August and came back from honeymoon. I thought, let's put a wee bit of weight on. Probably watching this, might think I need to do another marathon, but came back from there and I was like, I need to do some structured training, and also a lot of the information I was giving out was maybe 8 to 10 years from my last marathon, so I was thinking, is there better ways to give information out? So I kind of met Andrew, we talked about shoes, so from there I put a blog post up about it and then asked people about their opinion on training plans, and the response I got was fantastic. So from there I thought, well, there's definitely a lot of knowledge locally, and it's pretty much as such what we're doing tonight is we're trying to get as much of a resource for everyone to share and everyone to use. So I started writing marathon spotlights, so both of you guys have completed them as well. I just asked a few little questions, and the amount of experience and advice I got back was just phenomenal, and it's stuff that I can use in clinic to share with everyone as well. So project 345 was Stirling, so I went around Stirling, and in the end it was 3 hours 30:59. So it was a fantastic experience, and yeah, I learned a lot about the distance. I learned a lot about the tactical side of it, I would say. I mean, say tactical, it was more for me not to go too fast at the start, and if you didn't really watch my splits, then I'll say I did that very well. So it was good fun, and I learned a lot from the day itself. But the training over the 26 weeks was just so great from an experience point of view, and a lot of that I share every single day with folk. And not one size fits all, but definitely you can expand and change it and be quite flexible how you train. And a lot of people have fed into the process, and I've kind of given them advice as well. So yeah, it's been really, really good.
Yeah. Do you think when you're setting up with a project, do you think it kind of kept you on target and kept you kind of motivated, or do you recommend it to other folk to kind of not to the same extent I'm sure as you, but to have some kind of structure around your kind of planning? And
I think for myself, I had to do something that I was going to be accountable for. So having such a public goal, it was quite heavy snow outside. I was thinking, well, people are kind of following the project 345, and if I don't make this and I don't manage the goal, and I did kind of have a little bit of pressure on, but I quite liked the pressure, to be honest, and I didn't really mind it. So if you do like a wee bit of pressure, it's quite nice to publicise your goal. If you don't like pressure, don't publicise your goal. There's different ways of doing it, being accountable. I do think you kind of have to be accountable to yourself, so when it does get hard, you kind of say to yourself, if you want to get your end goal, you kind of have to do the processes to get you there. So will I go so public again? Probably not. Enjoyed the experience, but it was quite nerve-wracking standing in Stirling. And I think I was speaking to somebody today, and I was like, I can't actually remember the race, because I knew what I had to do the first 5k and what to do the second 5k, and once the first 5k was done, I kind of forgot about it and moved on to the second one. So when I go back and reflect on it, I can't really remember too much about the race, which is it's a bit sad in a way, but also it's what it was. You had to get through the processes, because the end goal was the thing you had to do. So.
How did you find the crowds around the whole of the?
Yeah, no, really good.
Did you run through? Is it
Doon, Dunblane, Bridge Valley? Yes. So Doon was great. I went 4:30 for a K going through there. So I think when you hear people cheering your name and you've got a name on your vest, they all shout your name, so you kind of feel, try and run a bit quicker coming through here. So on the grand scheme of things, probably didn't help me. It was so good, and the support was really, really nice. And also ran through Dunblane, where you take a couple of steep turns to run by Andy Murray's Golden Post block. So that was quite a novel thing as well. And then coming down to the Bridge of Allen, coming through the university, and then down to the bottom of the hill, so it was all good. And there was a couple of bits in the course that was a wee bit empty, and you kind of thought, I missed the crowds now. And when you got the crowds, there was jelly babies, orange juice, there was everything going there. So yeah, it was a good support, and I really enjoyed being there. And when you start thinking about it like this, you do actually remember bits and pieces of it.
You definitely recommend that as a good marathon to do.
My only experiences before were New York and Lisbon. Lisbon I would never ever touch again. I don't think I've been back to Portugal since. But New York I would definitely recommend as a race, just for the 5 bridges and 5 boroughs. It's just fantastic. The Stirling itself was a great run, and the app was quite easy to use for tracking around about the race. So yeah, I think it was a really good route. I think it was better than the year before, so it's only the second year it's ran down there, and the first year was 3 loops. I think that would be quite mind-numbing, so I think it was a lot better than the year before.
It was mixed. People gave a mixed response to it the year before. 3 loops. I think in the last 6 months, any marathon, it's just in fact, but all the crowds that were there, your mum was there watching. You see it 3 times, and there were lots of good things about it as well. But
I think as well, like the mindset at the end of a marathon is completely different from the start. So, like you say, anything that's not going well tends to.
It's hard to run past the finish line, knowing that you're not quite finished. It's the same at Edinburgh Marathon. You quite fancy just stopping them.
But no, it was great, and I think one of the main reasons I set up was that resource, and the resource is there. project345blog.wordpress.com, and please go and have a look, share, learn, educate, and have a shot at the marathon, definitely.
Yeah. Good stuff. So since you mentioned you're doing the Larry Groove, so is that the kind of longer is the thing, or?
So it's going to be my first ultra marathon, so.
More elevation, right?
So, do you know what? The one thing I really missed with the marathon training was the trails, and being on the trails and just doing something different. It's really fun. So I think the elevation will be great, and the whole event will be nice, and it's nice not having to race it, just to run for completion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, you try to do something every day that scares you, so it's pretty much that for me.
Don, any questions coming through for James on the?
Yeah, so we have one that we'll get to with James' insight on some training stuff. So one was from Jack Smith. So it's about, has anyone ever injured themselves and continued to run? Was it worth it? Why did it carry on?
Oh, it's too early to be thinking.
It's too early to think about
that.
that. Yeah, exactly. But it's
We just
touch on
wave
some
at
of
people
these.
that are waving.
We'll touch on some of these
David's
sort of
waving.
questions as we go through. Again, a lot of thanks and congratulations on Project 245 as well.
No, thanks everyone at Tea Party as well. So there's a lot of people that fed into it, and it just shows that there's a lot of local knowledge out there as well. And although there was posts from some of the guys like Derek Ray, Olympian, Robbie, Commonwealth, it was the local guys that got the most hits. So the one thing about having the blogs, you could see who went to which page, and I think one of the most read blogs was one by Liz Kerr about running just after pregnancy, and I think it was probably 7 times more popular than every other post. So
Doesn't too much for us, does it?
Well,
yeah,
I must admit, I felt a bit of a fraud doing one since I don't actually run road marathons, so I felt I wasn't feeling I was giving you much.
But no, they were good fun, and everyone, I was overwhelmed by the support I got. So yeah, thank everyone out there. So yeah, thank you.
So again, people are chiming in and saying it's definitely a better route at Stirling this year, and there seems to be a groundswell of people pushing for David Scott to go for the Barclays.
Yeah.
So who's being paid to suggest that?
So that's a good introduction to David then. So Dave, so you do so much in the running community up here in terms of your own running is getting phenomenal as well from the ultras and stuff you do. You first vet in Catteran just last week.
Catteran was just over a week ago, and that was good. Hadn't done it before, but a really good race.
Yeah. But in terms of your history in running, you haven't been running that long, but you've come such a long way in a relatively short time.
That's right. So I've only been running 8 years since I picked up running for the first time, and having never run really at all before that, but threw myself in at the deep end by signing up for a marathon along with my brother. So that was what got me started. And it just grew from there, really, from having done that first marathon and built up and enjoyed it. And then I did a few kind of mixed events, duathlons, that sort of thing, and then came back to the running again and started signing up for some more longer races, and then I ended up doing my first ultra in 2014, and that was an eye-opener. I must say, when I finished it, I got to the end, someone tried to sell me a backpack, a running vest, and I looked at them and I said, what's the point? I'll never run another ultra again. And that was my view at the time, was that was me done. But no, obviously things changed because I did another couple that year, and then just kept going. And it's the community, it's the people, and you found that.
Definitely.
You turn up at these events, and it's the same people that are there. You recognise faces, and there's no sort of feeling of these are the fast guys, these are the slow guys, these are the it's not like sort of town 10Ks where you've got your competitive people at the front that you'll never see again. And they are competitive, you know that, but the person who comes at the end has done just as much as the person who comes first. In fact, they've probably worked a lot harder because they've been out there a lot longer. So there's that community and community spirit that everyone's on that running journey and enjoying it for the same reasons. So I think that's what keeps drawing people back, and I think that's why people do enjoy the ultra running scene.
Yeah, I think there is. I think all running is addictive, but I find the ultras and long distance, there's something about it. It's just.
I think as well, it's where they take you. So you find yourself able to visit bits of the country that you would never otherwise go to, routes, long distance footpaths, trails, whether it's the West Highland Way, whether it's up north, whether it's out in Deeside. It's places you wouldn't necessarily go. And even the Catteran Trail, it's only just over an hour away. I've never set foot on any of it, and that's 90 kilometres worth of trail that I've just never been on.
I know.
And it was great, really good.
Yeah. So then, So where did the Fit Like Joggers come about? So this is the group that you...
Well, I'm wearing the t-shirt, so yeah, I've got the t-shirt on today.
Purple, so.
Well, people will have heard of the Fit Like Joggers. There's quite a lot of them I see that are watching just now. Cheers, guys. Yeah, we started really just as an idea that some friends wanted to begin running and they didn't know where to start, and they knew that I ran and asked if I could help lead a group to get them running. And I said, okay, I'll try, and looked into how I could go about that and came across the Couch to 5K app. And I thought, well, here we go, I'll just help them follow the app, and someone else has done all the thinking and the work. I'll just take them for the run, and I'll tell them when to stop and when to start. And so we did that, and that was in spring, or no, in fact, it was January, middle of winter of 2016. And a lot of them came through that 9-week program, kept running with us, and we thought this was great. And then we took in another intake and had another 9-week program later that year. And it's just grown from there, really, so that last year when we did it, we had about 25 people at the first one, and then about nearly 70 at the next one, and this year's grown as well. So it's incredible, these number of people, and because the sun always shines in Aberdeen, you know, people are always, you know, we didn't lose too many people through miserable weather, even though this latest group, they started in the middle of January and, you know, icy streets, but did a great job.
Yeah.
And
It's going to cost you a fortune for setting.
they do get through a lot of Prosecco, but I must say, you know, we're balancing the books. But that's a big part of it, though. It's a social side as well. So when we have gone to events, or even, you know, partway through the 9-week program, we have a drinks night afterwards. We all go to the Mariner, cheers, Mike, and go and have drinks in there. And then at the end of it, we'll have a dinner, a celebratory dinner, and then we try and sign up for a race.
I think that helps with accountability as well. So you know, when you're part of a group and part of a community as such, when it is hard and it is a wee bit icy or a wee bit darker or a wee bit colder, you kind of feel that you want to be there for the rest of the group because you're part of that group. And I think that's huge for keeping the community spirit of running for these
groups itself. I think that's the change that's happened in the last 5-10 years with the onset of the Jog Scotland groups, which are brilliant as well. So, you know, the same idea. It's just great, that kind of spirit.
And it grows from just running to actually a network, a community within itself. And I think that it's really good from my perspective as a physio that we can direct people that are wanting to get back to running or want to start running, that they can do it safely and they can do it at a gradual increased level. And I think that having the Couch to 5K is great from that. But sometimes you need to have that emotional support around about you as such, not so much pat in the back, but just to be there and have a group and have that social interaction as well, which is great for us to signpost to.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, David, that you've done a couple of times with the Fit Likers is the plogging, which is an interesting concept. I mean, I think it's something that, you know, I'm sure some other groups could be keen on doing. Maybe you can explain a little bit.
Yeah, plogging is picking up litter while you run. Picking up litter and jogging is effectively where the name comes from. And the idea is that, you know, we go on trails we think are beautiful places, but sometimes you see bits of litter. Now, some of it's dropped accidentally, either by runners or bikers or dog walkers. Some of it is just carelessly discarded. And you think, if you're covering these routes, then maybe we should have a duty or even just a willingness to pick up some of that muck that we see. And so we thought, let's get our running group, who are all, you know, they enjoy running anyway, and we'll go out as a group and try and just do a bit of a litter pick while we run. So we arranged this, and one of our good friends, Lorenzo, turned up with all of this equipment, all these grabbers as well, and we had all of our bags, and we just went out for a run. And, you know, it's really surprisingly satisfying to think, the first time we went over Tullis Hill and then on the Cove Coastal Path, and we felt that we did an incredible cleanup, you know, to the point that you're seeing tiny little bits of plastic or a plaster or something like that, and you're getting all the big stuff as well. So you're picking up the bottles and the crisp packets, and you're leaving the route just looking really, really nice. And you just think, you know, it's quite satisfying. Yeah. Lorenzo himself, though, you know, he was so meticulous that I think it took us twice as long as it probably needed to. But it was good. It was nice to just cover a bit of ground. And
so, what was the kind of council's attitude? Were they quite willing to help?
Yeah.
Like the
Yeah.
litter pickers, for
Well,
example. Was that something that's
Lorenzo
available?
put
to-
us on to the council,
Yeah.
and in fact, the council were incredibly supportive. They were delighted to hear that we were willing to go out and do this, and if we could get some numbers together. And by the sounds of it, quite a few groups in Aberdeen are doing this. They're
Right.
doing organised litter picks. But what I found by getting in touch with the council was that they were happy to deliver all of the grabbers to us, as many as we wanted, whether it was 10, 20, or however many. They would deliver plastic bags to us, the thick, heavy-duty bags. They'd deliver gloves, drop them off wherever we wanted. And so they did that the day before. We had all of the gear. We went out. We've done it a couple of times now. So the second time we did it, and we'd arranged a collection as well. So by the time we finished at 4:30 in the afternoon on Kincorth Hill the second time, along comes the council waste truck to pick up all of these bags. So we had 17 big blue bags of rubbish that second time from Kincorth Hill, which again, in some ways you think, oh, it's really sad that there's so much rubbish out there. But a lot of it had been there for years and years. And, because we had a few of us there, we were able to do quite a deep clean on Kincorth Hill. So we felt it was quite a nice, rewarding thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's really
When's
well
your
planned.
next one? Or is there one?
Well, we haven't got one planned, but I did get an email from the council today saying that they're doing a 24-hour litter pick. And they've done it before, apparently, and they want to have a group out every hour over 24 hours. So 24 hours, 24 groups in 24 places. So they're saying. So I
If
think
there is
it's-
the groups out there, and I know that I've got a wee bit of a connection to Rebel PT, so I don't know if Tom or Alice wants to kind of get in contact with yourself, Dave.
Thursday the 21st of June,
There you go.
apparently. So I was going to put a note on the Fit Like Joggers page,
Yeah.
but I'll circulate it around
There's
on
also
the
not
running
being,
shop page
not
as
being
well.
part of the Like Joggers group, be keen to do it as well. So there'll be a few folk out there who might be willing to
It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth doing.
Satisfying,
Even if just
yeah.
once, it's
Yeah.
satisfying.
It's giving some
Find the
back
route,
as well.
and you're almost disappointed if you don't find rubbish.
Yeah.
Why is there not more bottles here?
Put it down and pick it back up again.
No, that's pretty good. So anyway, thanks, Dave, for that. So in the back there, Kayleigh. So it's our third guest here. So our superstar Kayleigh. So ex-running shop employee. Had a pretty good season this year, Kayleigh. Scotland call-up. Do you
Yeah.
want to tell us a little bit about it? How did it go? How did it feel for Scotland?
It was, I don't know, it was like unreal. Like, I got the email at 5 o'clock in the morning. I was just, what time I woke up for training, and I seen this email from this guy, and I was like, it said cross country, and I thought, oh, it's bound to be something good. It's cross country, and I just got so excited. So I said it read like home countries or something, and I was just like, oh, I think that's a Scotland Fest. So I text Jackie at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was, I don't know how he puts up with me. And I was just so excited, and then I actually got the email and everything. But it was just really unreal, and running the race was, it was weird because I wanted to be really excited and just kind of just like, oh yes, I'm running for Scotland, so it's so exciting. And I was really hyper, but then I was like, at the time, I was like, no, you're representing your country. Like, you got to be serious about this. Like, you got to do your work. But it was an amazing experience.
Yeah, and do you find like the standard, was it just a step up in terms of who you're competing against? And the field?
There were some amazing runners, and I kind of felt like a little bit out
I know,
of
you
place. I was
did
like,
so
why am I
well.
running with all these people? Like, they're just amazing. Like, and then there's
Where was
just
the
little
race?
old me.
Where was the run?
It was down at Wallerton Hall in Nottingham.
Okay.
So that was really cool. It was really hilly.
What's the distance? So,
I think it was 8k. I'm pretty sure it was 4 2k laps. It was all really hilly. It wasn't as muddy as Loughborough. Absolutely loved Loughborough. It was amazing. It was just like bog pits. It was great. But no,
You
it
did
was,
pretty well for Scotland came. You got silver, was it?
yeah, we
It's
did.
just amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Brilliant.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, we're already getting a cross country legend mention here.
Yeah.
Please.
You're-
Oh, thanks.
I think as well as when you say, oh, you felt like intimidating that, but you come away with silver, you know, it gives you the confidence that you deserve to be there. It's great when you see that.
It was just like, you see like all these names, and like all the girls, they all turn up, and they just look like proper athletes, and and then there was me. I don't know, it was just really weird, but it was really nice to run with them as well, because it's like, it gives you like a whole new level of competition, a whole new level of pressure. Running in that, and then of course just having the Scotland Festival is really cool. So
Is the Scotland Best now framed on your wall?
I have it. I've got a little gym room at home, so I keep it there. It's like my motivation to try and get another call up, so it's there. It's in a little gym room at home.
Was it Kyle Gregg that left his by a tree on the D-side line or
It's
something?
GB.
It's a
GB.
GB
Oh,
vest.
did you get
I
that?
remember seeing a
Never
Facebook
got it
post.
back. Yeah, never got it back.
Oh.
So, yes.
If anyone out there finds a Team GB vest by a tree
Yeah.
somewhere in D-side,
Yeah,
That'll be his.
please hand it in.
Oh, shit.
you know, some kid will have found it and just be waiting.
Some blogger might have picked it up.
Yeah, we got North Face jacket, we got an old washing machine.
Right. Okay, so finally we're just going to have a quick discussion on, because the plan was to have kind of one general kind of discussion in these sessions. And one that kind of James suggested that we could have a chat about was kind of load versus capacity in terms of kind of understanding the balance between what you do from a training point of view, what you put your body through, and what your body's capacity is able to handle that load. Because there's so many different factors, and do we think about those factors, or do we, like me, just go out and run and don't think about anything else and suffer the consequences? So, yeah, I don't know, James, if you want to start a discussion in terms of...
Yeah, I mean, it comes off the back of us trying to look at how do we manage running injuries slightly better. And with running, it's been obviously a sport for so many years. But when you look across the data's not improved, even though we've got better gadgets, we've got better shoes, we've got better apps to track and monitor our running, we've got all this different equipment now, but there's not really a change in the injury prevalence as such. So we do a lot of research ourselves as physiotherapists, and we're looking at, well, why is this? And one of the really, really good resources out there is the running physio, which is Tom Goom, and also James Dunn, the Kinetic Revolution, who they do a lot of talking about what the load is, which is your training parameters, so volume, intensity, frequency, duration, terrain, and all these different load factors versus what is your capacity. And your capacity can be your strength, your flexibility, your proprioception balance, all these different things. And what we've found is that a lot of overuse injuries come when the load's been too big for the body's capacity. The hard thing is that everybody's capacity is different. So we talk about the guy who's just finished a 600 and odd mile run. His capacity is very different from mine, where I've just done a 6 mile run tonight and I can feel my legs. It's your ability to know your own body, and I think that's what we're trying to educate with a lot of the clients that come through the department. Being aware of what your capacity is and being aware of what your daily stresses, weekly stresses, over a training block stress is, so that you can monitor that and see if there's any changes in it. So yeah, that's kind of the load versus capacity to a certain level. But load can be varied by sleep, it can be varied by nutrition, it can be varied by a lot of different parameters itself that we don't sometimes think about. I spoke with Tom and Kyle on their podcast, and we spoke about when they were finding their training hard, they sometimes would take a rest day when it was unscheduled, and that's when we talk about being able to manage their bodies a little bit better than if we think we're tired and we go out for a run anyway and we end up being sore and think, oh, I need to do the miles anyway and go out again. We tend to find ourselves in a downward spiral. So it's being aware of your own body itself and what your ability to accept the load is.
Yeah, and also that's for all levels, just...
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the research as well, I'm doing a lot of looking at new runners just now, so people that are just getting back into running, and also people that have just picked up running for the very first time. And within the first 2 years of running, your injury risk is very, very high because your body's not used to accepting loads. So the tendons, the muscles, the bones themselves, they take a long time to adapt to the constant pressures from running itself. So we tend to find that there's a lot of people that have overuse or injuries in the first 0 to 2 years of running that people that have been running for 8+ years don't seem to get, and it's because the body has adapted over time to the stress and strains. And one of the biggest things that helps with physiotherapy is gradual increase, so gradual exposure to the volume, gradual exposure to increasing duration, and just gradually increasing the distances rather than just going, I've got a marathon coming up in 16 weeks, I've never run before, this is what I'm going to train for, and unfortunately the body's not equipped to accept that load straight off the depending on what your background is and depending on what your injuries are. And there's a lot of different factors, but that's kind of what we're looking at. Why do runners who are just new to sport get injured, and sometimes that puts them off, or sometimes it makes their experience a wee bit tainted a wee bit. So it's trying to convince them that everyone can run as long as they take control of what their training loads are, and that's kind of the message we're trying to get across as well.
It's like the Couch to 5K, that's absolutely what is happening with the Couch to 5K program, building it up gradually over the 9 weeks, and then even more gradually after that as well. Just being careful, because you see people who, their body might sort of feel like it's, or they're they feel stronger after 2, 3, 4 weeks perhaps. They might even feel that they've got stronger lung capacity, but their body hasn't caught up.
And I think
so they feel that they can do more than they actually can.
The big key thing is that your heart and lungs adapt a lot quicker than your bones and your joints and your tendons do. So when you think you're getting fitter and you want to run further because you're not getting that same level of heart rate or a level of being out of breath, that's where the body it needs a little bit of time to catch up with the heart and lungs itself.
I can definitely vouch that. I think my first 18 months of running was just, it wasn't fun. So it was just every 6 weeks I was injured with something new and really had to wind it back. It was actually Nick that really wound it back and said, this is what we've got to do, and just gradually built it up. I think it took like a year to, you got to take your time with it, for sure.
And I think as well, from the other side of it, is we spoke about the physical side, but there's also the psychological side of running, and why do people run? So is it to get away from a stressful day? Is it to help with their eating? Is it to help with X, Y, and Z? And I think that what we sometimes see is that people compare themselves to others quite a lot. So they see somebody else doing, for example, speaking to a guy who's like, oh, my training partner did an 80-mile week last week. I want to do an 80-mile week. You don't have that experience just yet. So if you stick to your 40s, then you can slowly build up. Went for the longer distance and then get experimenting, and it's trying to not told you so. It's kind of saying, well, this was your training error, and then how would we change that in the future? And that's kind of it's very much an educational aspect to it, and I think that's super important for managing injuries long term. And the stuff we do in the clinic helps to kind of get you back on track, but if you're not leaving educated about your body, then we've done ourselves a misjustice. And that's where we really try and make sure that when you leave, if the same injuries that happen, how to manage it and how to spot training errors as well.
So just chime in there with Jane. Has come up with a good question there that ties in with all of this about maybe the other end of the spectrum. There's how do you recognise overtraining, which you've kind of touched on there as well, and the rest periods. What do they look like, especially post-race? So we touched on it a little bit.
I think it's very much one size fits all. So for Jenny, her recovery might be different from the next person, even though they've run the same kind of race. And I think that there is studies out there showing resting heart rates or resting heart rate variance can definitely show overtraining as well. So I'm going a wee bit off tangent here, but when you look at your heart rate first thing in the morning, you'll get a resting heart rate, but sometimes the difference between the beats is how much stress your body's under. So that can sometimes lead into monitoring overtraining, and also you can also highlight if you're having flus or colds or anything coming on. So there'll be more variance in your between beats or the average part of your beats. There's a great app that is called Welterray, which is a free app, and you just pop your finger over the camera light and it gives you your resting heart variance, and it kind of gives you a little bit more. It's not as accurate as what your chest heart rate monitor would be, but it gives you a little bit of indication if you are overtraining, because the heart rate variance will be a lot more.
Yeah, what was that called?
Welterray. Welltory. It's a free app, but you can also upgrade if you want to, but you use it for a period of time so you get an established heart rate, and then from that it'll tell you what the stress and strains are on your body, and it breaks it down into different sections, which are really good. And I used it leading up to the marathon to, again, highlight overtraining with myself. It worked quite well, but also it was quite good from a cold and flu point of view. So I trained through winter, and when I wasn't feeling well, I would look at the numbers the morning and kind of monitor my training from that point of view. So there is tools out there for that kind of thing. But I think one of the biggest things is listening to your body, and I think that you have to kind of give yourself a wee bit of a head to toe MOT first thing. Listen yourself, i.e., is there any bits of soreness? Is there anything that's not DOMS? Because you're training for long distance events, there's going to be muscle ache, there's going to be tiredness, there's going to be fatigue. But what isn't going on for 3 or 4 more days? And I guess the guys that have been of that distance, you'll probably know from first hand what it feels like to be potentially overtrained or under recovered. And a lot of the guys, they'll know they'll change their session because they don't feel like they're hitting the same targets or the same speeds that what they want to do.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think, and they say with ultras as well, one of the main things is to get to the start line. So don't overtrain. You're much better to go in underprepared than overtrained when you're past your peak and things are starting to hurt. So you can always just slow your pace and take it slower rather than.
I think that's one of the biggest thing is that I probably tried to run my training runs too fast and I wasn't recovering enough to do the next quality session. So you tend to find that what I did was, and I'm not experienced running by long shots, but I broke it down into key sets, and I had to make sure that I did the key sets. And my preparation before that was I would be recovered for the main sets that week, and it was only 2 or 3 sessions a week that I had to be kind of fit for. But yeah, getting to the start line uninjured is a massive thing itself. But I think if you can have a great training plan that is gradually increasing over a period of time, then that can definitely go a long way towards doing that. How do you start doing for the longer distances? I'm not sure. That's what I'm trying to figure out now. I think back to backs was
back to backs. Because you can't, some of these runs you can't just build up enormous training runs. You have to cut that back. So having back to back runs at the weekends where you do a certain distance one day and the next, that can help. And even sometimes back to back races as well. I know it's not recommended for many people, but that can help you prepare yourself for a longer race. If you've done a race on the Saturday and Sunday, and see a few people doing that.
Yeah, I know. I've got a client who was looking at doing the West Ham Way, and then Stirling was the next day as well. So trying to get the 2 back to back because the bigger goal was longer term. So it's kind of thinking about how do you recover after the first day? How do you make sure that the next day you're actually getting the nutrition on, the right fluids on? So it's tactical balance. And I would put the question maybe back to Jenny. How does she know when she feels undertrained, or is she good at monitoring herself, or what things does she put in place to do that? And I think that there's a lot of things out there. It's finding out what works best for yourself. Yeah, that answers the question.
I don't think there are always answers.
No,
I think it's always very personal. I think, like you
Yeah.
say, it's all about what you can handle and whatnot. It's very personal sort of thing.
And when you're talking about load as well, I mean, intensity is a big part of that too. So if you're talking about how you load yourself over a period for an event or for a race or even just in your training, you can run 20k perhaps at a lower intensity and you'll be all right. Or you can run 10k at a higher intensity, or you can run 5k and absolutely brutalise yourself. And I know from my experience that I'd much rather run 20k than running 5k because of the amount of effort that you put into it.
There's a new way of monitoring that, and it's completely gone from my head, and I'd have to put it onto the footnotes afterwards. But it gives your run like a Borg rating. So say for example, if I was to rate the run at 5 intensity, so around 20 minutes at 5 intensity, so that gives me a score of, it's going to be 100. Yeah, gosh. That's why I'm in physio. So that gives me 100 points, and then if I was to do like a rated 8 out of 10, and I was only doing it for 10 minutes, that gives me an 80. So again, it's kind of how does that all add up in the end. So
yeah.
I'd have to find that resource. It is. I've probably done that guy a great injustice, and I do apologise to it. But I'll get the resource and I'll put it out there. But it's just different ways of probably rating your effort versus how long you've been at that effort for. And I know a lot of Strava gives you how long you're in a certain time zone for. So that's another way of working out. If you're in a low aerobic zone for so long, you can do that for a lot longer. But if you're in your lactate zone, your threshold zone, or your anaerobic zone for longer, then that's more of a stress on the body itself. So it's kind of all these different parameters, and it's not to be paralysis by analysis, but it's definitely being more aware of these things with running.
Kayleigh, do you find that in your training, do you use a lot of tech to figure out your how you're running, how you're training, how you're preparing for zones when you talk about?
I generally kind of like this morning I had a session and it was just really tough on the legs and stuff. So, and I was like really, I kind of more like just go by feel. Like if I'm really pushing, like if I'm really going for it and I'm really feeling tired, I'm really feeling after work, then I know I'm really working hard. Whereas when a long run and well, like sort of a slower run, and it's just really quite easy. Quite like I very much go by feel rather than that sort of thing. It's sometimes good to have people as well as indicators. I don't always run with people.
It's a great thing running by feel, because again that's so subjective to yourself as well. You know what you're feeling like on that given day versus any other day, you know, and then it's the comparison of the continuities with you, and I think that's nice rather than you with a scale that's set for everybody yourself. So,
I think it's quite important for racing as well, because then you can, I'm not always the best, as I always start off a little bit too fast, and I'm trying to work on it, but then you can also kind of relate in the race that, okay, right, am I really going as fast as I can, or should I maybe take it back a little bit and then push on? I do a lot of it by feel. I mean, I'll, like in training sessions, I'll look at my watch and see what my splits are, and just to kind of roughly gauge, you know, if I'm maybe having not such a good day or whatever. But a lot of it's, I feel like if I'm working hard and I'm feeling sore, then I know that I'm really giving it a full effort. Yeah, like this morning, my quads are exploding. So, poor things.
No, it's all good. It's all good discussion. There's just so much information out there and so much to learn. You know, I'm terrible. I'm the world's worst. All I do is run. I don't think about anything. I said to you earlier, James, my nutrition is awful.
Nutrition is hard.
Yeah,
it is a hard thing to tackle.
So a lot of work on my part to do. But
I think, with nutrition, you can't drive your car if you've got no petrol in it, so to speak, you know. And I think that you have to make sure that you have enough fuel, because the body will go to any fuel source, so it will start to break itself down over a period of time. So I think it's detrimental to yourself. And I'm not a nutritionist by any way, but there's definitely a lot to be said about having the right nutrition on board. And I think that even like the fluid intake as well is really important. You spoke about the cabin this weekend just passed, and it was really hot, but you just found yourself sipping away and you were able to sustain. And I think that some people get by on little, some people get by on a lot. It's what works for you, but knowing that there has to be what's getting burnt has to be kind of be replaced at a certain level, and that's just basic.
And there's a lot of, there's so much available now in terms of different gels, different energy drinks. I know you've got lots in the shop here. I've just had the active root delivered, which is a ginger sugar substance, and going to be working with that. And it's just trying different things that you can digest, that you can keep down, whether it's fluids, whether it's gels, whether it's solids, whether it's sweet, whether it's savoury. People have to try different things. And some of the guys that we were running with on the Gatran, David Gilmore was saying he was eating salted potatoes. So just boiled salted potatoes. And other people talk about roast potatoes as a great food source, and it just gets things into your body.
It makes sense. You're losing salt, so you've got to put that. Water's it's good, but it's not the best, because you sometimes dilate things even further. So there has to be some electrolyte of some sort that has to go back into the body. The tailwind was one of the things that I tried pre-run. It was friend of the show, Gareth Hunt. So he put me onto the tailwind back in the start of my marathon training, and it's great. It makes a big difference. The calories are there, the electrolytes are there, and it's quite good to come on board. And the active route is something I would swear by as well, just for setting your stomach. I didn't have it before I went for my runs, so that when I took the gels on board, I didn't feel like my stomach was going to cramp. So the guys, George down at Active Route, plugging everyone here. It's really good product, and I really like that as well. So
good stuff. Any more, Don, there?
We've got a couple of questions that we can touch on. We've got one in who's the top informed female runner in Aberdeen. I don't want to single anyone out.
Oh, I think so many to choose from. It's supposed to different
distance
distances as
It
well.
depends on the surface, I think.
There's so many good runners. We've
Exactly.
seen it earlier. In the Northeast just now, whether it's track or ultra, trail, there's some.
That question came from Ray Crombie, so that's the question's his fault.
You got to say Fiona Bryan's doing some incredible things.
Yeah,
just
that was
winning
my
the
first
Baker
one.
Hughes, and she went across in, was it Stockholm or?
Yeah.
So that's some great results.
So
sort of that level.
Kelsey,
from looking at the sprinters themselves, you've got Zoe, who's putting Aberdeen back on the map as well. It's great, and then Kelsey, she's doing really some great things as well. again, she's a friend as well of the show. So yeah, Kelsey, and also when you go into the longer distances, you've got Fiona, and you've got Jenny and Claire as well. 1, 2, 3 at the Baker Hughes.
Oh, do they count as long distances? I was thinking of proper long distances.
Really?
I know that Jenny's watching, so I can't
Yeah.
say anything without mentioning Jenny.
Well,
That was second to the Cataract,
yeah.
and second again at the Sky Trail Ultra. I mean, that's phenomenal running. That's
She's quite inspiration. So,
72
yeah.
brutal miles over 20.
And then we've got
hours.
a controversial question in here from a certain Miles Edwards. Who do the panel think is the better runner, Tom or Fiona?
Oh.
What was the difference at Baker Hughes? 10 seconds or something?
Oh.
15
I'm gonna go
seconds?
Team Fiona because she's a girl. That's just me. I'm gonna go Team Fiona.
I don't know.
There you go.
Do you know what?
It's hard. I don't think either of them would like to answer that either.
Do you know what? It's a really good question. I think that Tom's Spirit came on this year as well, and I think that he nudged out 2, 3, 4 for his marathon as well.
Yeah.
So I think that's kudos itself, and it's a massive thing when you go down to London, you come back with 240, and you're disappointed with a 240. You know, that's shows what level of intent he has, and you can't take that away from Fiona either. It's going 76 around Denmark, so winning that, and so Miles both that exactly the same. But where about have you been? I've not seen.
Miles is saying it has to be Fiona.
Was it 31 miles had down in London?
Yeah,
right,
that's
the
pretty
weekend,
impressive.
so, yeah.
First 10k.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
about 31 minutes or something like
So
that.
kudos
Pretty
to
impressive.
Miles there as well. So yeah,
It's not a question. Really.
when's Miles doing like an ultra proper?
Hey, we've got to mention Tom who's organised the Metro Relay,
Yes, I was going to
the
say
Cross
that.
Scotland Relay.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's been
absolutely.
a great event coming up in just a couple of weeks, just over 2 weeks, where there are 18 stages, 18 legs of this relay from Aberdeen all the way across to Fort William, and it's broken down into distances of between sort of 5 and 20 miles, and with about between 3 and 6 people in each group. And they're all going to try and get from Aberdeen to Fort William over the course of 24 hours. So that's a great, huge logistical thing to have organised. So well done, Tom, for that.
Yeah, no, good luck, guys.
And, Tom's plan is to run it this year and then see if we can go beat the time next year. But actually, just getting the running club together, getting people all part of one big event, I think is the main thing for something like that.
No, that's good.
And they've done well.
Yeah, and it's all for Githemba Edwards, and also we've got a run at the end of July, or 1st of July. Sorry,
Yes,
end
of
of
course,
June,
we're not
so.
asking you the questions here.
No,
Tell us what you're doing.
So I'm planning to probably the next show we'll get Sarah who I'm running with it will come in. Hopefully Miles, if you're giving time, maybe get you in as well. Hopefully, but yeah, so we're kind of planning a run, running the source of the D to the mouth of the D. So it's hopefully within a day we can do it. Starting at the summit of Braeria, where the D, the pools of D are, and following all the way back down through Larrigrew, Braemar, Ballater, and then back into Aberdeen, finish at Fitty on the 2nd of July. So, but yeah, there'll be more details on that. But yeah, so it's all both charities, both events are for the Githemba
What was the
Edwards, so
distance again?
it's about 90 miles.
90 miles.
Yeah,
It's downhill.
downhill. So
Tailwind.
it can't be that hard. So let's just keep telling myself that. But anyway,
We
but
did it last year from Lunady to Carthy. It was run, cycle, and paddleboard, and that was 10 hours. So
Cool.
yeah, good luck.
yeah.
All the way. And then it might be downhill.
Okay, so I think that's it for tonight. Just a couple of short things. I'll say we've got on running shoes up next Saturday, 9th of June. So it's a Saturday event. I'm going to get them up early in the morning. So if you want to do
I just realised what you said.
we've got the shoes
That's
on
not a
now,
display model.
And
I
Snazzy
did.
one.
so if you wanted to do a park run, come in, grab a pair of shoes, do the park run, see how you feel. But it'll be here all day, so you can come along. I think I'll have class lunch as well, so you get your breakfast when you come back. So yeah, I think we've got Brooks night on the 20th, I think. So I'm planning a prosecco and pizza night with them. So might be of interest to a few, maybe a few Fit Likers. They like that.
Yes, they do.
Like a
Yes.
pizza, yeah.
Your pizza.
So there'll be more details not coming out, but yeah, that's just a couple of things happening. So, but
Got
yeah.
a thumbs up from Miles there.
Excellent,
Yeah,
right?
yes.
So your next guest, Miles, good.
So legally behind it now.
Yeah.
Thumbs up on Facebook.
Right. Well, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you for listening. If you're out there, appreciate that. Thank you very much, guys, all four of you. Really, brilliant.
Good fun.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Any questions
Very
that you
grateful.
managed to get to, talk amongst yourselves afterwards on the page. Some notes might get added, and just letting the chat flow there. So,
Cool. Brilliant.
I'll hopefully try and answer that guy's question that you asked at the start.
the injured and sighted running. Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Good. Thanks for everybody who's been
Yeah.
commenting and
Yeah.
liking and posting, because it's been really good watching it on the side of the screen, popping up, even if Andrew can't read a thing.
I know. That's just a blur, I'm afraid. So I've got my glasses on. So.
Good. Cheers.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
You have to do your reaching over,
I know,
stare
yeah.
into the screen and press pause.